All right, we're recording.
Sweet. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening or wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the April 25th edition of Contributor Experience. If everybody on the call could add themselves to the attendees list in the agenda, that would be great. So first we're going to handle the recurring items of business. So it sounds like Paris already did the new contributor intros / welcomes. Paris, is that right?
That is not right. I was just helping with the agenda item, but we do indeed have a new member. So go.
Okay. Could that person introduce themselves briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Jonas Rosland. I'm the open source community manager at VMware. I recently joined VMware. Before that, I was at Dell EMC and Dell Technologies as the open source community manager there. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Is there anybody else on the call that is new? I think there's only 7 of us, and I think I recognize everybody. So, sweet. Host for the community meeting, I think, George, we're still good until after Summit, right? Or KubeCon. KubeCon, yeah. Red Hat Summit is on my brain right now. Next item is meet our contributors / office hours. Paris, are we good for that?
We're good. We're actually going to do a live edition of Meet Our Contributors at the Diversity Luncheon at KubeCon. Nice. And we're good there. I'm actually not good for June, but I'm not even going to think about that yet.
Chris, can you mute? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Let's not even worry about that. Are you good with office hours, George? Okay, cool. All right.
Neat. And then last item, graph for the community meeting. Does anybody have a graph that they really want to present? If not, then we'll just skip this week.
Yeah. Well,
aren't you doing Slack? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. That's what I was going to say. You just took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, no, I was going to say I could do Slack if we wanted something, or like Elsie suggested, we could skip.
Paris, how's your plate looking? Do you want to present it? Or
that's fine. Yeah, the data's already done. So, the data's cooked.
Okay.
I just need to do it. So, yeah, I'll put it down. It's going to take me less than 30 seconds to present it. So, hey, might as well.
Cool.
And then, so I'll do Slack analytics or the Slack data tomorrow. Jonas, by the way, we do this every meeting. This is just kind of like our reoccurring things, if you will, like community management-esque things. Just in case you're lost right now.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, just to make sure that everybody's got like the very basic reoccurring things like volunteers and stuff like that in case we need to put like a fleet for help. But yeah, sorry, Elsie, go ahead.
Nope, no worries. Okay, so I've noted that in the doc that you're gonna do Slack analytics in the meeting tomorrow. Okay, next. So we're gonna do a quick stand-up for the project's MDU review. Paris, do you want to take this away?
Yes. So I want to start doing stand-ups at least once a month. We meet 3 to 4 times a month, so there's no reason why we can't go around really quickly, give wins, losses, challenges, blockers, on some of the stuff that we're working on, and then also make sure that we're documenting either A, when it's done, or B, anything new. And then also in that same breath, we should start talking about Q2 and what we're going to be promising for 1.11 release. So really quickly, I'm just going to go down and blow through the major headlines. So the first is SIG planning. Charter's already done. So I'll push a PR. Also, if anybody on the line wants to do some easy PRs, Chris, I think you might have been looking for some. This is a great place to do some easy PRs just to update this. So charter's done. We're good there. Projects in this goals doc is liquid. That's good. We are still in the middle of de-spoofing, if you will, community management topics, but I think we are damn near close. George and I both know the YouTube innards at this point, so we no longer have just George. And I think that's it. There's no real blockers on any of the SIG planning stuff. Questions, concerns, comments about SIG planning?
It looks like there's a comment from Josh that says, I'd like to have SIG approval on this issue so that I can push ahead.
That's not a comment on what Paris just said. That's an
Okay.
agenda item.
Okay, cool. All right, and then mentoring, I'm going to blow through this really quick because I could take up the entire hour, and I know no one wants to do that for the entire hour. But mentoring, we've got group mentoring. I've got a cohort spinning up right now for new contributors to members for CLI and storage. We are in the midst of automating a lot of this process. I did do a flow chart. I will include the flow chart on the meeting notes in 1 second after I get finished talking, but the flow chart is what we want the first MVP of the system to look like, and this system is going to be alerting us when people fill out the form and when certain events are being kicked off from the form. And like I said, I'll share everybody with the flow chart. So if there's anybody interested in automation, I have a couple people that have agreed to give a few hours, but after they've looked at the flow chart, they realized that we definitely need more than a few hours. So we could do a little team, if you will, there. Meet Our Contributors is going awesome. I think we have had 175 views just on the last one, which is awesome because we're billing this as mentors on demand. So essentially we just influenced 175 people on their contribution journey here. That's what we're talking about when I say at scale. So this is proving to be quite successful in my mind. Outreach is over. Google Summer of Code is actually in the midst. I'll get Nikita to join the call for the next contributor experience, but she's leading that, and they just hired I believe 8 folks yesterday that are going to be interning with Google Summer of Code and cloud native projects. I'm not sure if that means Kubernetes or all cloud native projects, but I'm pretty sure it might be Kubernetes. And then last but not least, the buddy program. That has been renamed the the one-on-one hour, and the docs have been checked in for that. I'll include the links on the agenda too when I get done talking as well. We just need to again come up with the automated process for that, which goes hand in hand with group mentoring because we're using the same mentor-mentee sheet for that. So it's like a one-stop shop form, and then that's when it kicks off the automated things that need to happen. Just another thing on the mentoring tip, we did check in the mentor guidelines as well. So the mentor folder itself is growing really rapidly. So if anybody wants to check out the mentoring folder, I need to do some more cleanup in the group mentoring file, but that's where we are with mentoring. And then contributor documentation. George, you've got a lot of this. Do you want to give a really brief update for any wins or challenges you're having for contributor guide?
Yeah, so the contributor guide is basically mostly complete other than the reviews section, which is still kind of a bunch of notes and nothing else. And I kind of wanted to discuss it more and figure out what we're going to do like around KubeCon, and because I'll have developers there, maybe see if I can get a volunteer, we can figure something out. So
well, we do have 35 minutes for a deep dive, and I think that, I'm going to give an update in a second about when Tim comes on, but we could have a couple minutes there if you wanted to do it there.
Yeah, we could.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk in 1 second about that one. And then developer guide. I know Ryan's not on the line right now, but we are going to do a deep dive and start to really kick off people's suggestions and opinions on what they want to see in the developer guide of the deep dive. And we'll talk about that in a second. We do have some minor blockers there, but again, that'll be covered in the deep dive part of the agenda today. And then George, do you want to talk a little bit about the new contributor website?
Yeah, not a lot of new info on that other than Joe went on holiday and he's coming back and he knows he's behind. So we're going to have to figure something out.
Okay, cool. All right, that's fine. So we're just waiting on Joe. All right.
Yeah. Both of my things not looking good right now.
Was there anything?
And one is more complete than the other. 90. What is 90%?
But yeah, the contributor guide, as far as I'm concerned, is complete as it's going to get for right now. So that's good.
And I'm really trying not to tell Joe, hey, you proposed this thing and then kind of bailed. So I'm like, he went on holiday. Let's give him a little chance to catch up. And then so I've been talking to some of the new contributors as well. It's one of those things where like, hey, if Joe is too busy, do we plan a call, get 3 people who are motivated to implement it, get the general guidance from Joe. And I told him, I was like, give us a working prototype and we can start to figure it out. Yeah. So I want to at least get that out of him sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Like I guarantee we could recruit some people on a mini team that could help us.
I've got them. I've got them. It's Bob. It's Bob, Jeff, and Mario. The usual suspects.
Okay. All right. So just let Joe know that if he needs us, we can fill it. And then I know Aaron's not on the line about label documentation, but there has been some serious work around the documentation of labels. And I think we're pretty much set there actually. So I'm going to update the projects list as well. And then is Sadev on? I see him. There he is. Sadev, do you want to give the latest on issue hygiene?
Yeah, sure. The latest is actually around the labels.
Okay.
So basically, I know in our last couple X meetings, and we talked about having those new labels, line them up for the triage only, right? Specific to triage. So 4 labels with prefix triage / has been added, and label descriptions and the usage is also added in the triage guidelines. So that has been reviewed, a lot of review from Christopher Blacker. So, it got merged. And that's one thing I think we were looking to have it merged right before the KubeCon. So if we have a triage session, we can mention and educate people around these new labels, right?
Okay.
Yep.
So what's blocking you again? Just the label piece?
No, it's nothing. It's all merged now, Paris. So we have all. Yeah. So yep. Now, one thing I want to update is one of the issue I have opened, and I know I did put in my email to the country packs and some other SIGs. Christopher and I talked that we should update on the mailing list the same email thread which was proposed, which was with the proposal. We have one issue open to rename the kind / support label we have today. Josh.
So if you want to tie them together, this jumps straight into my agenda item because we have a bunch of kind label changes potentially pending. Okay. So for all of those, I'd actually like to get an official vote from the SIG to endorse that plan, just because we have a lot of stop energy around label changes and not a lot of people supporting it. Particularly if you look at that issue that I have, it's a tracking issue that a certain steering committee member asked me to create and then didn't support. I kind of feel like for all of these cleanups, including moving kind support to triage support, and a bunch of others, we need to actually have an official SIG endorsement of this plan, or it's just going to hang around as an open issue forever.
Christoph, are you on?
I am. I think we can move forward with this, but we need to go through the process and get it out to the mailing list, because I think there's a tracking issue, but I can't remember if we actually sent something out to the mailing list to announce, like, hey, we need to discuss this and come to some sort of consensus.
Right. You know what we have now is we have a tracking issue. We have one comment from one contributor who is negative on the changes, and we have one comment from Aaron, and that's it. And on that basis, without SIG endorsement, I can't move ahead to the next stage, which is putting it out on the mailing lists. It really needs some more approval than that.
Okay. what I'd suggest, let's keep going through the projects file. While we're doing that, I'm going to just refresh myself on the commentary on that tracking issue, and then we can come back and have a discussion on that later on in the agenda. Does that work?
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on then.
Yeah, real quick, Barry, sorry.
Yep.
So, Josh, yeah, I did actually added this issue in the mailing list, your original mailing list on the kind label. So I know I replied that to everyone. Is there any other place I should put it there? I mean, is there one place we are tracking all this, you said?
Okay, is this already in Kubernetes Dev, are you saying?
I'm sorry?
Which mailing list is it on?
Yeah, the one you sent sometime back, I think, to the country backs working group. I mean, SIG now on the kind related process. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it.
So then you can have it now as part of, okay. And I did put the issue, the URL as well for the issue, the one I opened it. So.
All right.
Yep, perfect. Thanks.
Cool. Okay. All right. So workflow and automation. I know I might skip this one as well because I know Christoph's trying to get updated with the kind labels. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this. Next is the communication channels. I do have note that I'm going to change this subheading to match the sub project that's in SIG XAML. And that's going to say community management. And we'll put some other community management-esque like topics in here later on. But Slack guidelines are done. On that same topic, we probably need to add the moderation guideline topics in here as a PR. George, I think the last time I checked this morning, you were just making some corrections and still socializing for commentary, correct?
Yes. So I pushed a new revision up. Thanks to everyone who reviewed. If you can, I believe I've addressed all the comments. So.
Okay. Can you do me a favor as well? Can you put the commentary link inside of the agenda today, and then
Sure. Got it.
That'll just remind me to update the projects file too. Weekly community meeting, that's good. No blockers there. George and I and a bunch of other people are going to be working on the next several months schedule. Demos are still pretty crazy with the length. I think we're out to like almost July at this point. But that's the breaks. Roadshow, I think we've hit, the last time I checked, 85%. We still had some SIGs that were missing, but we've hit most of them, which is awesome. We've gotten a ton of feedback. That's been very positive. Folks seem to love to have a representative from Contributor Experience. So I think it would be really cool if we could all start to go to a couple more meetings a week from other SIGs just to like show that we're here and ready to help and things along those lines. If we can open up those communication doors, I think we'd see vast improvements with what people's perceptions of our project communication channels are. All right. And then communication documentation, that's sort of what we were just talking about with moderation guidelines and things like that. We're really trying to revamp the communication folder to be as robust as possible. And if people on the call think that there are communication channels that should be documented that are not in that folder, please let us know. Please put an issue up because there are things that are probably lingering out there that we need to document that we haven't. And then dev stats. Elsie, do you want to give an update on dev stats?
Sure. So graph of the week, I think we've been doing a really good job of. I've had a lot of people from this group have done an amazing job of presenting in the community meetings, and I really appreciate that. User guide is still in the works, but we have been doing a weekly working session where we've been going through the graphs and doing a little pairing of them because we feel like there's too many for them right now, that they're kind of overwhelming. And then also making sure that we understand each graph and having a good description for each graph, and that the names of the graphs make sense. So what I later today I'm going to do, I'm going to send our proposal for the graphs that we would like for Lucas to take off of the dashboard out on the mailing list, and to see if people have thoughts or feelings about that. If we're going to kill a graph that's super important to somebody, we should probably know that. And then based off of that feedback, then we'll proceed with with continuing to clean up dev stats. And then data validation, Josh.
No, I haven't gotten any further with
okay.
data validation. A lot of the obviously wrong counts went away when I took the I forget what they're called, the repositories that are mirrors of subdirectories of KK. When we took those out of the counts, a lot of the obviously wrong counts kind of disappeared. And so if somebody has a particular graph that is clearly over or under counting something, then please go ahead and let me know, because at this point I don't have anything to start from to try to figure out where we might be counting things wrong. The one area where I know that data is bad but can't fix is, it's been the last time that the CNCF did an audit of people's company affiliations in their contributor file was last November. So any of the graphs that have to do with companies are going to have suffered in terms of accuracy. Mostly what it looks like is we have less corporate contributions now than we did 4 months ago, which is not accurate. It's just that people have left companies and other people have been hired, and none of that's reflected. One of the other things in terms of cleanup, Lucas pushed through the set of new names from our spreadsheet this morning.
Yay!
These are for graphs that we're keeping, and we're renaming to make the names clearer. And he said that old links will still work, because the links are based on the UID of the graph. So anybody who's linked directly to a graph is not going to find that broken by the renaming. He's working on the two big consolidations, the histogram consolidation and the chart consolidation. Not clear on whether or not those will happen before KubeCon, because they turn out to be more complicated than they sound. So you can look at either the consolidation issues for how that's going.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Events?
Yeah. Well, we've got our major event next week. I don't think, I mean, that's our major update. Our update is that this is hopefully going to be checkmarked, is done and over with. and then we go immediately into planning China and Seattle. So it's just pretty much a KubeCon kind of year for these folks. And the Contributor Summit is on Tuesday. We're rocking and rolling there. And then the update and deep dive we'll get into in a second when we start to talk about that stuff. But no real hindrances or blockers on anything that we have events related. Josh, I know we talked about in the Contributor Summit update, it feels like yesterday, but it might have been on Monday. I don't remember. That we wanted to do some kind of, what was it, like a mini release team, if you will, for events where people lead events by like rotation. What was your idea there?
I was kind of thinking of that, just because we're getting too many events for just our team of 3 or 4 people to be planning them all the time, particularly because we're getting overlap. And I was just thinking that the release team model that we already have might be good for that. That is, we figure out a set of roles that we need for each event. Maybe it's not. Maybe we have a couple different types of events that have different sets of roles.
Yeah, we have geographical limitations as well. So
yeah, and then we have leads for those roles, and ideally shadows for some of those roles as well, so that we can be growing the team. So we'll have a KubeCon Shanghai team and a KubeCon US team, and whatever else we're doing, a DockerCon team. Although it's feeling a little late for that.
Well, we are there for everybody on the call. We will have a 3-hour contributor office hours at DockerCon. So if anybody besides Josh and I is going, I'd love to have you there to help out. I have no idea what to expect. They told me anywhere between 0 and 2,000 people could show up. So we're going to give it a good go, though. So I'm going to start that stuff after Google I/O, which is the second week of May. So you'll hear more about DockerCon then. But yeah, no, I think let's get maybe a little doc going, maybe some kind of short proposal of what it would look like to do events rotation, like the release team, and then we can talk about it after KubeCon. Cool. All right, I think that's it for the stand-up with the exception of Christoph. You wanted to re-comment on the kind labels, and then also if you had any updates on anything contributor workflow and automation related.
Yeah, so circling back on the normalizing labels issue, I reviewed it, and basically my conclusion based on where the conversation ended up is everybody's kind of in violent agreement on that issue. There are some concerns about potential conflating of what is a bug, but I don't think that's a problem we're ever going to be able to solve as long as we are allowing people to label issues, especially when we ask issue reporters to hey, take a guess at whether this is a feature request or a bug. There are plenty of things that people will report as a bug and are not bugs. So I don't think we're ever going to solve that kind of conflation issue about what is a bug. But as far as consolidating and getting rid of some of the really old kind labels and that kind of stuff, I think this is a position that we can move forward. I would see the next step being putting it out to the Contrib-X mailing list with a concrete proposal of this is what we're going to do. These are the labels that we're going to deprecate and get rid of. These are the labels we are going to rename, and then getting a PR out to the test info repo to actually do it.
Okay, I kind of feel, given that this affects everybody who needs to label anything, which is everybody who contributes, that we also need to put it out to Kubernetes dev as well.
We can. Our procedure that we've kind of defined is in the charters out to the Contrib-X mailing list. And the reason for that being is if you care about this stuff, that's where we're telling people to go and look for it. As far as just controlling the noise about how much goes out to dev, if we see that it's going to have, if there's any controversy or there's big, anybody's reporting a potential big impact, that's where I'd say okay, let's escalate it and put it out to the main dev list as well.
Our charter does say that it should go to the dev list, though. Our charter says,
I thought it was Contrib-X.
No, our charter says that all changes that face contributors org-wide first go to Contrib-X for socialization and pre-implementation details, and then it goes to SIG leads, KDev, and if it's that large, an announcement on the Thursday community meeting. I
stand corrected.
So maybe if we're just nervous about noise, then once a week we will collect any changes, and then once a week publish an email digest to KDev. But I don't think we've had any major changes this week, so I guess this one would probably just stand alone. We could also just button it up in general to issue hygiene and triage related, kind of not necessarily just about labeling. So we could probably have some other kind of narrative / messaging that we push with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Thoughts? All right. Okay, so we've got some actions there with that. Sadev or Josh, who wanted to take the alerting of KDev?
I'll go ahead and do KDev just because the tracking is fine. Because Sadev obviously cares about triage, but the tracking issue covers several other cleanup items.
Okay. Would you mind maybe making sure that the email includes whatever Sadov wants to have as well, so that we can reduce the noise?
Yeah, well, that's the client support is included in there,
Okay, cool.
isn't it?
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. No, thanks.
Who is going to open the PR against test infra? Do you want to do that, Josh, or do you need some help with that?
I'll want you to review it.
Okay.
There are some other steps in there though that I'm not sure exactly how they happen. Like if we're renaming an existing label, I don't actually know the process for that.
There's a label sync folder inside of test infra.
Mhm.
And Aaron actually very recently went and updated that documentation with his label list, because
Right.
there's actually like a step in there to both update the documentation for the labels as well as the actual label sync YAML file. So there should be new documentation in there.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're missing something, there's something that isn't properly documented there, then yeah, just ping myself or Aaron.
Yeah, okay.
Or let me know too, Josh. It's again with help of Christoph. I renamed all those labels lately. The close to triage.
Oh, okay.
I know it as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Adav.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Yes. Pushing forward. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry. Anybody have anything that they want to talk about for Q2 or think that we need to discuss or get on the agenda for Q2/1.11 release? Or Christoph, did you have anything to add also to any of the automation stuff going on?
Not right now. I'm probably going to get something out to the mailing list between now and next meeting, in particular around org permissions and org owner permissions for GitHub specifically. I'm going to get something out like to Contribex about that within the next week. So we can discuss that. Well, probably not next week because there's KubeCon, but like the week after.
Yeah. Awesome. And I know, I don't think he's on right now, but shouts to Tim Pepper too, who's been doing some really awesome work on the cherry pick process documentation. It's really awesome. That's one of the like P1s that we had. So that work is going really well. Thanks to Tim, even I'm sure he'll listen to the audio today. All right. Anybody, like I said, anybody want to or think we should be working on something for Q2 that we have not mentioned yet? We can talk about this after KubeCon as well, too, if, now that we know that this is something that we need to think about. Cool. Okay. We'll shelve that conversation for the meeting after KubeCon. All right. And stand up is over.
I can sit now.
All right. Is it me next too? Of course.
Yeah, you're the next three. So.
Well, all right. I don't think we're going to need 10 minutes. I just put that just to try to hog the schedule. The first link is the update planning doc. I'm very curious to hear what people's opinions are now that they just heard that stand up. What should we highlight for the update? We have 35 minutes. Does anybody have any opinions on things that we should dig deeper into to let other community members know? Is there any projects that maybe we don't need to highlight to the community? And then also a reminder to sub-project owners to do a slide. So questions, concerns, comments about anything I just said that relates to the update at KubeCon? No.
I have a question, Paris.
Yep.
So for the update, who is giving the update?
So that would be me and you, and we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about the flow at noon when we meet today.
Okay.
But you and I, we can like trade off and talk about different aspects. Like you can do dev stats and maybe take some of the automation, and we can like slice and dice it that way.
Okay.
Is anyone on the line going to be at the update session? George, are you going to be there? It would be cool. Maybe we could have George.
I'll be wherever you are.
Okay.
Wherever you all are at, I'm just going with the group, just like KubeCon. Yeah.
I feel like there's some kind of song in here.
I get the feeling we'll be walking and someone will ask us for a status update anyway. We'll just have to know it.
Yeah. Well, did anybody hear anything really interesting in that stand up to where our community members are going to be really either enthusiastic about it or want to know about it in great length?
So I think they'll, like, especially during the contributors summit, I think a lot of leads will start asking us questions of things that we covered during the roadshow.
Yep.
So for me, like, I've been trying to go to Service Catalog for a while, and it just hasn't happened for me for some reason. So I'm just going to sit down with like Paul and Doug and kind of just give them a TLDR, over a drink or something, and be like, here's what we do for you, bam, bam, bam. And like, okay. If we have them all in one place and you have the opportunity to, like, hey man, how you doing with labels, or whatever it is, you're talking about. I think it's a good opportunity when you physically have them there to bust out a lot of things and questions.
Yep.
Especially like the new working group. Like I'm expecting, like I put in our thing, hey, if now's the time for leads to speak up if they're having YouTube problems or Zoom problems or any of that stuff. Just basically, I'm here all week, bother me with whatever. So
yeah.
That's kind of my plan.
So I actually have a question. Jonas, are you still on? Hold on, I need to do my little.
I'm here.
Okay. So everything that you just heard in that stand-up, was there anything where you were like, oh, I want to know more about that?
Well, there were a lot of things in that stand-up.
Yeah, no, I know. We work. This thing works, y'all.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think you're talking about the update at the Contributor Summit, right?
Yeah, we're going to do pretty much exactly what we just did, but a very high level of like, hey, these are the things that we're doing, boom, 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 and then like a slide on like how to get involved. Come on, like come to our meetings, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think for pretty much all contributors, and especially new contributors, me being one of them, I think it would be good to get a little more updates on, like, how do we do the one-on-one meetings, necessary steps to get those rolling, necessary steps to get involved with them. That's for both new and existing contributors, because you want existing contributors to be there as well. So I think that particularly, when you have both new and existing contributors and you have the stage, I would say talk about those to get involved there. Okay,
cool. And quick plug for everyone. I have a 35-minute talk on mentoring.
Awesome.
So I don't know if I'm going to go into deep conversations about mentoring in the deep dive, but in the update, but I definitely will at least let people know that if they can't make it to the session, that they can find the 35 minutes of me rambling about all of the mentoring programs. So that's the good news. And then we can also ramble about the stuff that George and other people are doing with the documentation aspect as well. So
that would be my second thing.
Yeah.
So looking at the new contributor website, having existing contributors help out to build that, I think would be very, very important.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was a good validation that we needed for that. So Elsie and I will get together at noon today Pacific time, and we're going to start with the flow, and we'll ping everybody if we need them for anything else for that. And also Sadev, Josh, anything issue triage related to that you want people to know in this 35-minute update, even if it's just a link. I think that's important because we have to turn the slides in, and I know a lot of people actually do look at the SIG update slides. So links are probably our most critical thing on this, not even, the format or anything, just to make sure that we have actionable steps that people can take. All right, and then Tim, I saw you joined. Hey, how are you?
Hello, I'm here, yep.
All right, so let's go right into the deep dive then. So Tim and I actually met yesterday. Ryan J, who said he would help take this up, meaning shepherd in all of the work that's being done around the developer guide, or the new developer guide rather. So we have 35 minutes for this deep dive. We thought at one point, because we are very wishful thinkers, that we could do a doc sprint. But no, and Tim and I met during the SIG Docs meeting, and I was like, Tim, why don't we hang up the phone and talk to the experts? So we did, and they laughed at us.
In a nice way.
It was nice. It was very nice, very nice. They were like, so wait, you're trying to do a doc sprint in 35 minutes? And I'm like, something like that. Yes, actually. Well, I mean, I think what I was trying to envision here is just at least 10 to 15 minutes for people to, what's the PC word I'm looking for? Because I have one in my head that I'm not going to use. Maybe vent their frustrations about the current developer guide, so that we can see some of the frustration points and also show what we're working with. I did include in the agenda kind of like where my head is around this. I'm thinking that we tell people to interrupt us the entire time. This isn't like a question and answer section. We show them the umbrella that we're working with. We show them where the current developer guide is. So we make this interactive. We tell them to open up their laptops. I mean, on the abstract, it says that as well. So people aren't thinking that they're coming in to get a lecture from us. And then also maybe a quick swing around the contributor guide work that George and Gwen, so many other people have been working on. And then also inviting for comments and PRs and that, and tell them that obviously the developer guide link would be going in here, so that it's a smooth one-stop shop process for a new and even current contributor. And then, of course, show the README, which is the current developer guide. And that's kind of like where we would hit off and really take off with the comments of, okay, now you've seen all of this stuff. What are we missing? What can we do better? And then really just actually start a live note-taking session, and then hit the ground running when we come back from KubeCon and start work. That's where my head was. Tim, take it away with what you think to that.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, I think that's 35 minutes, to be honest. I mean, if anything, it would be 25 to 30, and then we give people 5 to 10 minutes of their life back. And I think Chris just got excited for that. I don't know, or he just remembered something. I just saw a yeah.
No, I totally remembered something.
Yeah, was like. Does anybody have any comments about the deep dive, or what they think we could do better with this time as it relates to the developer guide, or maybe ways that we should ask people for their input? No?
Other than getting people who get excited about it, getting their contact information so that we can hit them up and contribute to it in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really, I think, and Tim and I talked about that yesterday too with the docs team. Like, I think it was just like important to get people involved in this, just because it has been pulling teeth, because we've gotten a lot of people that have, issued complaints via issue and things like that, but nobody that's actually wanted to do the work. Which, like, we have a couple of us that are willing to do the work, but in my case, I'm like, I need to hear what some of the other complaints are besides like API conventions. Or if that's the only complaint, then we're good to go. And we just clean up the file and ship out a better README. So, but we know that there's holes. So I just want to hear like where the other holes are.
I've got a lot of ideas on things, and partly it's an issue of time on my side, but I don't want to go start writing a whole tome without some affirmation from a broader set of users.
Yeah, agreed.
Or contributors, developers.
All right, so Tim, let's keep hammering away on the deep dive planning doc. I mean, there's not too much left to hammer away, but maybe just smooth it out with some questions that we want to ask the audience, so that we can try to get the answers that we need.
I'm going to draft up sort of like just a couple slide deck, just to kind of have a little bit of a flow and some concrete links up on the screen.
Exactly. Perfect. And then any last minute questions, concerns, comments about the update or the deep dive from this crowd?
I've got one.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. So one thing I noticed that we did in Austin is it felt like we had a lot of people coming up to us, asking us questions and stuff like that. I think this time we should like get a Ziploc bag or something to keep all their business cards, because as soon as we came home and we went to the meetings, there was like nobody. And like, it was like, oh no, we should have written people down. And like, it sounded like people were excited, but everyone sounds excited at a conference. You know, they're like, sure, I'll volunteer for this or whatever. I was thinking like if we made it a little bit more formal where it was like, all right, you put your business card in Paris's magic bag and then like you're in, you know, and then it kind of like gets people more engaged. Like I feel there was a lot of people that we reached out to and then we never followed up with.
The story of our open source lab.
Like, so I thought like, should we get a late, you know, one of those card reader things, but then we'd lose it. So I was like, let's just get like a Ziploc bag and have like a shared, you know, and then like all of us as we're walking around, we just say, you know, this person's interested in it, and you write it on the card and you toss it in there. And when we get home, you know, we kind of organize it better or something. Or something that enables us to reach them again.
Yeah.
Like, well, I felt like people were excited and then I never heard from them again.
Yeah. It's literally the story of my life, George.
Like, you should have a mentorship program. But there's like one person here. What happened?
All right.
Sorry.
Next. Unless anyone has any more items. All right. I'm going to be really brief with this. I've started the Contributor Experience mid-year survey. I'd love to get your opinions, suggestions, feedback, whatever, on the pool of questions. So if you have had a burning desire to ask our contributors something about their workflow, their automation, or our automation, our testing infra, our mentoring, whatever it is, I literally just started. There's about 40 other questions I have on the top of my mind, but I wanted to start throwing this out there because I'd like to get it out mid-June, and I think that's so close already. So just so we have this on top of our minds. Cool. Questions, concerns, comments about the survey? And this is something that we actually drew up in our charter as well. So we are making good on our charter. Yeah. All right. If there's no questions about that, George Castro, you're up with a discuss update.
Yeah, so I was talking to Chris Anesnachek, I hope I got it right this time, at the CNCF because we needed proper single sign-on for discuss.kubernetes.io. And he says, hey, we had this all set up on discuss.cncf.io. So he set that up and he was like, wouldn't it make more sense to have like Kubernetes just be part of this? It's got data in there from a trial that they tried like a few years ago, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to run that by everybody because I know April was like, I'm keeping an eye on how y'all are doing discourse because we might not be interested. So it's live on discuss.cncf.io and kubernetes.trydiscourse.com is still up. I haven't taken that down or anything, but my free trial is running out on kubernetes.trydiscourse.org. So I wanted to run by how do people feel about we would just have a section under a CNCF forum. The one minus I can think of is you only get 2 sets of nested categories, and we would have to share that with other CNCF projects that might be interested.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of negative on it.
Okay.
As am I.
Because the thing is, if we're using discourse at all, we're going to have 20 times the traffic of any of the other CNCF projects.
Bingo.
Okay.
And it would be very unbalanced.
Agree there.
So does anybody have an opinion that is not that? Is there anybody that's like, no, I just want to make sure if everyone's unanimous on it, I'm fine. I'm good with telling them, yo, dude, you got to set up single sign-on and stuff. And like I said, I don't really want to move forward until we get the domain and the single sign-on all squared away with like the proper logos and not my personal GitHub apps and stuff. So I will let them know that there's that. Okay, that's all I have. And it's an open secret. I mean, you can tell people to check it out, but we're not telling people to use it because, you know, we're just kind of
because the data is going to go away, presumably.
No, it's going to stay. But I was able to get some really good feedback from the chef community who use it like lists, and they wrote out an entire instruction set on how their open source project uses it that we would just totally steal because it's great. No, they took screenshots so you could just follow along. I mean, they did a really good job. So
Is that public? Because I'd like.
yeah, absolutely. Just chef mailing lists.
Nice.
Yep.
Thank you.
So they use Discourse for mailing lists.
Yes, and I added that to our CAP. So if you go back to CAP
Okay.
0007, you should find a link on there as well.
Okay, cool. What were their did they have any drawbacks or cons or anything at all?
Yes.
Like that.
They had a bunch.
Name one, just out of curiosity.
There's a simple blog post. So the way they communicated, they were moving from their mailing list to Discourse was done poorly. So I linked to a blog post in the CAP from a person who was an outsider contributor looking in, and he wrote a long blog post of stuff that we need to avoid, basically. So
Cool.
yes, I documented everything that they did. In general, he likes it, but the way they migrated it, mentally, I was like, okay, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. So I was really fortunate that they were able to document this for everybody. So I think that will help us in the long term.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's really high quality stuff in there.
All right. And then any last minute comments for George with Discourse? What's the end of the test date? Is it end of June or end of July? I can't remember.
I was gonna do 3 months after we accepted the CAP, so whatever end of month is, so that we don't pay for half a month.
Okay.
Kind of
I was
thing.
just curious.
Yeah.
So sometime in the summer, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It would cover almost an entire Kubernetes cycle, if not half of 2.
Cool. And then Josh, I think you are ending our meeting today with your update.
Yeah, well, I already talked about the kind labels,
Yep.
and then I just dropped a link in there in that just to let this group know that the release team is talking about some changes we need to make to how milestones are tracked labeling-wise in order to support Tide. You don't need to do anything about this, but I thought it was important for Contribex to know about it.
Faux show. Christoph, did you have any comments about that?
No, because it's still in my queue to review.
You got yourself a big queue there, Sonny. Let us know what we can do for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking your queue? It's so big. Can I avoid it entirely?
All right. Does anybody have any other comments, questions, concerns? We have 6 minutes left. I can either give you back your time or we can talk about anything else. Elsie, we're still on at noon for planning. Tim, I'm going to talk to you about deep dive. I need to get both of you on Sketch. Anything else? Jonas, are you uber confused? Is there anything that we can help you with as far as
No, I'm.
you just want to be a fly for a while? Because I know that was our role, every one of us, I feel like, at some point in this project.
Yeah. So, you kind of nailed it there. I definitely want to be a part of this, and I want to make sure I understand everything first before I do too much. I'm really looking forward to the Contributor Summit next week.
Yay!
So I'll be there. I'll be in the first track. It's going to be very interesting, and I think I'm going to gain a lot of knowledge from there. And I apologize for the car alarm outside.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, as I said last week, I'm still reading up on all the stuff that you have documented here. There are a lot of acronyms, and I'm definitely going to bug you about those. I saw some documentation here, but yeah, I'll keep studying, and looking forward to meet several of you next week.
Yeah, and if there is any acronyms or something like that, bring that to our attention so we can add it to the
Yes,
glossary.
I am adding commits right now for the glossary. So
yeah.
Awesome.
That's some good easy PR winage. So definitely Glossary is our friend for stuff that we think should be defined. There is a community tab too on the glossary. So if it's not even necessarily related to pods and kube control and all the other good keywords that we have, if it's like community related, like Tide or Prow or whatever, let us know there. But
Hey,
Will do.
Jonas, I noticed you're not on the Slack channel unless you are and I don't see you.
I should be there.
yeah, he
Oh,
is. He's
Okay,
chatted
all right.
with us.
Okay, awesome. I will see y'all on Slack then.
All right. Well, that
Sounds
ends the meeting today. Elsie, did you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, somebody's coming into your house, George. Have a good day.
Have a good
All
one.
right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See everybody at KubeCon that's going to KubeCon. Come hang out with us. Woo!
Yep. See